Cool. Yeah. Sorry. So guys, today we are going to learn about navigating between any two resources. Okay. So we are going to learn. So now, like till now, we understand what is servlet, how to deal with the servlet. Now let us understand like how to navigate between any two resources or any two servlets. Okay. So to navigate in servlets, first option like we have an option something called as like redirect. So the first option we have something called as redirect. So using browser, so user will makes the request to a servlet. Okay. So servlet redirects that request to another resources. It may be internal resource or it may be external resource. In this case, browser gets the URL as a response. Okay. So redirect is nothing but like whenever user is going to give a request. So user is going to give a for like for example like for a particular particular servlets user is going to give a request. That request will be redirect from that servlet to any other servlet or it may be any other websites. For example, oh, yeah. So seen like okay, so whenever we are purchasing something on online stores, e-commerce websites, like when we click on that payment, okay, so when we click on that payment, so payment, so then it will give the multiple options. So whenever we are going to select that like any phone pay apps, okay, so any apps which supports the UPI transaction, and then we will click. So through this app or application we are going to perform the payment. Then automatically from that, like from Amazon, it will go for the any, like for example, if you are selecting the Paytm, automatically from Amazon it is redirecting to the Paytm website, right? So Paytm app in your mobile you might have seen, right? Whenever we are purchasing something, like we will select the whatever the order we want to place, then the total cost will be calculated. After that, like a payment gateway, so payment will be there. So then we select like Paytm, for example, we are going to select the Paytm app. Then on click, like okay, so proceed, so it will open the Paytm app. So that is what the external redirect we can see. Okay, so now like today we will see with an execution. One second, guys. Okay, so guys, I'm going to create a simple servlet. Okay, so here I'm going to create a class, simple class, a Java class. Okay, so uh, I'm going to give the class name as like example for redirect. Example for redirect, and I will finish this. I'll just create a redirect. Let us make it as redirect servlet. Just rechange the class name, rename the file. Fine. So then, like I need to make this class as a servlet. To make that, I just need to go for extending. Okay, so either HTTP request or a this one, like generic servlet. Okay, so I will just go with the extending with, sorry, extending with HTTP servlet. Extends HTTP servlet. Okay, and I will have a do get method. Yes, I'm going to provide implementation for the do get method which accept so HTTP servlet request as well as HTTP servlet response, and throws and servlet exception and input output exception. Okay. So inside here, so whenever user is going to give a request, okay, so whenever user is going to give a request for this particular servlet, I want the like, so whenever user is going to give a I want the user to get one more. Okay, so I need to redirect. So whenever user is going to give a request for this particular servlet, that request has to be displayed the website of this one, like GitHub. Okay, so github.com. So for that, what I'm going to do is, so GitHub, Git, yeah. So just I will take this URL. Okay, so I'll just take this URL. Then, so here, what I'm going to do is, one second. Okay, yeah. So whenever user is going to give a request for this particular servlet, this request has to be redirect, and it has to be open. Okay, so that request has to be give a response of github.com. Okay, so the GitHub website has to be open whenever user is going to give a request for this one. So for that, what I'm going to do is just on the response. Okay, So on the response, HTTP response, we have a method something called as like send redirect. Okay, so we have a method something called as send a redirect. So here I just need to pass the website address. Okay, so the website is like www.github.com. Okay, so www dot okay, or else like just passing this URL, it will be redirected. Just passing this URL, it will redirect. Okay, so now it will redirect to the given website. Okay, so now the thing is simple, guys. So here, whenever user is going to give a request for this example for redirect servlet. Okay, so whenever user is going to give a request for this example for redirect servlet, my request has to be redirected to github.com. Okay, so github.com site has to be opened. So now, like, okay, so I have provided the implementation. I need to go for configuration. Okay, so like I need to go for that web.xml configuration. Instead of that configuration, what I'm going to do is I will just make use of an annotation, something called as like web servlet. Okay, so I'm just making use of an annotation by the name as web servlet. You can see. Okay, so I'm just making use of an annotation by the name as web servlet. And now I need to pass the URL here. Okay, so I need to pass the URL. I'll just give the URL name as redirect. Okay, so guys, so this is one way. So this is another way of configuring a URL for a particular servlet class. Okay, so previously was what we were supposed to do. So we are just making use of an servlet and servlet mapping tag. So instead of that, we have an annotation by the name as like web servlet. Okay, so web servlet is an annotation which helps us to configure a servlet with an URL pattern. Okay, so the URL pattern just we need to pass here. So automatically, this okay. So automatically, whenever we are going to give a request for this particular class, the container will check. Okay, so user has declared any class with an annotation called web servlet. Okay, so if it is there, then what is the URL he has mentioned, whether it is matching or not. If it is not matching, then it will like if it is not matching any one of the URL pattern which was declared either like using annotation or the web servlet or else like configuring with the web.xml. If anything is not matching, then it will throw okay 404 resource not found. Else the matching your servlet will be invoked and do get whatever the method will be there that will be invoked and we are going to receive some response. Let us see how this redirect works. Okay, so let us see or let us understand how this redirect works. So I will just run my application on the server, run on server. Okay, so my application is getting started. And yeah, so I can see server startup in so and so millisecond. Okay, so now, yeah, so in the browser, I'm waiting that. So I'll just give a request for the redirect. Okay, so this is the URL I configured, right? So then I will click enter. You can see. So what was my request? Guys, did you notice? So my request was that sorry, my request was for that particular servlet, right? So the request, what are the requests I have given? That is for this particular servlet. Okay, so let us see whether this do get method has been executed or not. Okay, so just add a SOP statement here, and then I will try to print. Okay, so this servlet is an example for redirect. Okay, I saved that. So I need to like as I made some changes, I need to restart the server I'll just restart it. Okay, then yeah, so from the browser, so I'll remove this and I'll give a request like http colon localhost. Okay, so yeah, yeah, so localhost colon 808080 is the server support slash my first servlet app. Okay, then I'm going to give the URL. Okay, what is the URL we are configured? So the URL is right? DIR. Okay, sorry, DIRECT. Yeah, okay. So now, okay, so I will give again request. Okay, what happened? One second, one second. The port number started synchronizing. Sorry, the port. Okay, so my server is running at the port 8082. Okay, so that is the reason I got that. Okay, so that is the reason I am getting this message. Okay, so the port is 8082. Okay, yeah, you can see. So I got this again, right? So now in the servlet also you can see. So this servlet is an example for redirect, where this message was displayed. Okay, so this message was displayed or was present inside a example for a redirect servlet, right? It's just like a do refresh. Hey, not refreshing the thing like we're using the link. So whenever I'm going to give a request for this particular servlet, I'm redirecting from this servlet to the GitHub website. Okay. Now let let us instead of like redirecting to this. Okay, so let us try to redirect to any social media. Okay, so Instagram. Let us go with like login page of Instagram. Okay, so now let us try to redirect for this login page of Instagram. So okay, so let us create a simple servlet. Okay, so I'm going to create a simple yeah. So example for redirect servlet to. Okay, so then I will create this class. I'm going to extends HTTP servlet. Okay, and I will provide the implementation for do get method. Okay, so here I'm going to provide implementation in such a way that okay, so whenever user is going to give a request, so just display a message stating that okay, so this is this okay, so this servlet redirect. Okay, so it is going to redirect the request to a social media. Okay, so it is going to redirect a request to the social media. Now let us try to redirect. Okay, so to redirect, I said like on the response object, we have a method something called as like send redirect. So just here I need to mention the path. Okay, so for which website I need to give the website name. So for which website I need to go for redirecting. Okay, now yeah, so redirecting is done. Now I will just add an annotation here. So I'm going to add the annotation web servlet. Okay, so which helps me to configure this servlet. I'm going to give okay, so the like redirect name is Insta. So Insta is the like servlet name I will be providing. Cool. Now I'll save. Okay, so I made some changes. I need to restart my server. To restart, right click on this and just go for restart it. Yeah. So server has been restarted successfully. Okay. So now I will open one more tab. You can see I'm going to type like localhost and so my first app. Okay, my first servlet app. And what is the URL I have configured? The URL I have configured is Insta, right? And I will give a enter. Okay, so again, port number is 8082. Yeah, so you can see I got a request, right? So did I give a request like to Instagram, www.instagram.com? No, I give a request for my particular servlet. Okay, that is like http colon two forward slash local host colon 8082 is the port number slash my first. Okay, so my first servlet app, and then I have given the URL as like Insta. Okay, so this was the URL, the request I was given. But see, what is the response I am getting? Did I write or did I provide any implementation to get for this page, login page? No, right? Yeah, Prem Krishna, why server is changing the port number 82? Because like I previously, while like I explained them, okay, so how to change the port number of a particular servlet. So that is like double click on this servlet, sorry, server. Okay, so here you can see HTTP 1.1. So here we can change the port number, whatever the port number we want. If it is free, then that will be running, else we will end up with a like server port not available. So that was the reason I was getting 8082. Yeah, default port number is 8080. We can change that, not a big issue. Fine. So now, like, I hope you guys can understand like what is redirecting. Yeah. So whenever we are going to give a request, okay, so like for request for a particular servlet, so servlet redirects that request to another resources. Like resources is nothing but like we can see. Okay, so resources is nothing but the application. Like we have discussed regarding that, right? And like it may be internal or it may be external. Okay, so just we have seen the example for external resources, right? So here we have seen the example for external resources. Okay, so let us see and one more example for internal resource. Okay, so how the resources like internally redirect will takes place. Now I will declare okay, I hope like I will be having save servlet students, right? Cool. Do post is there. Yeah, cool. Now, okay. One sec. Okay. So if save operation is happening perfectly, okay. So if the save operation is happening perfectly, then what I'm going to do is one sec, guys. I will check whether I will return the user which is not required. Okay, so now, okay, so the thing is simple. Where I was. Okay, so whenever this save, okay, so this user, okay, so user save operation is done successfully. Okay, then I will try to redirect from this page to a dashboard. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just I will declare one more servlet. Okay, the servlet name I'm going to give it as a uh, okay, so I'm going to give it as a like display servlet. Okay, so display servlet is the class name I'm going to give. Then I will create a class. So then I'm going to extend this class. Okay, so I'm going to extend this class by the HTTP servlet. Okay, so is a class. Then I will provide an implementation. Okay, so I'm going to provide an implementation for the do get method. Okay, so and I will just configure and another with an annotation like at the rate uh, web servlet is the annotation we need to use, and then I will use display is the then whenever. Okay, so whenever this save user operation has been done successfully, okay, at the time we will receive like a result in the boolean like true. Okay, so whenever we are receiving the value as true, at the time I'm just instead of printing that. Okay, so instead of printing this message here, what I'm going to do is I will just redirect from this save operation. Okay, so after successfully saving, I will try to redirect to login page. Okay, so to I will try to redirect go for the login page. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just I will give sorry, I'm going to give the I will make use of this response object, and then I will invoke a method like send redirect. Okay, and here, so I will try to redirect this request to the. Okay, so once after successfully registration, now I need to give a login page. Okay, so login pop-up window has to be given for the user. Okay, so login.html file. Okay, so now I'm going to declare like login.html. Okay, is the file I need to redirect. So just I will copy this and I need to create a login.html in under src under main web app. Okay, so under this web app, I need to create a HTML file. Okay, so HTML file with the name as login.html. Okay, then click finish. So here I will just give the title as login. Okay, and I need to gather the user, what are the details we have gathered here. So where okay, so user email ID and password. Okay, so these are the two information I need to gather. So based on that information, okay, so now I need to write some logic, and based on that information I need to display. Okay, so I will give a message. Okay, so whether a user has been successfully logged in or not. Okay, so for that I need to gather. Okay, so to gather the information I need to go for creating a simple form. Okay, so I will just make use of this form tag. Let us wait for giving the attribute. And guys, tell me like this form. Okay, so method type will be like we need to have a get or we need to go for the post. Which one is best? Post. Yeah, so post is the best. Like why? The reason is simple. As we are using or as like in our fields, we have the password. Okay, so password must be hidden. Okay, that is the reason I'm going with post. And here just I will use a label tag and I will give a label as okay, so email. Okay, good. And then I'm going to take an input tag. Okay, so just I'm going to take an input tag and I will just mention input type is text, cool, and then the name. Okay, so the name attribute for input I'm going to give it as like email, cool, and I will use to break so that it will be come to the next line. Then I'm going to use again label tag, and I'm going to give the label as password. Password. Cool. And then I will use an input tag, and type of this input instead of text I will go with password. So then I will use the name attribute as PASS password. Okay. So then I will use the break. I want to make use of this break tag so that it will comes to the whatever the next button I am going to use or input tag I will be using, that will be coming to the next line. Okay. So then I will use one more input tag. Okay. So one more input tag. I'm going to give the type as submit. Okay. So the type as submit, and value I'm going to pass it as a. Okay. So the value I'm going to pass. S- okay. So login. Okay. So the value I'm going to pass it as login. Okay, so I prepared this form. Now, like whenever user is filled this and click on submit, okay, or click on login button, then I need to accept that information to my servlet. Okay, so for that I need to declare a servlet for login, right? So for the login purpose, I need to go for display a servlet. I'm going to declare a class, the name as like say, okay, so log validate. Okay, so validate user is the validate user servlet. Okay, so I'm going to declare a servlet with a name as like validate user servlet. Okay, and then I will click finish. And here you can see in the login.html, the method is of type attribute is like post. Okay, so here I need to will go for extend. Okay, so I'm going to extend the HTTP servlet class, and so as the method is of type post, I'm going to provide the implementation for the do post method. Okay, so I'm going to provide the implementation for do post method. Good. Okay, so here what I'm going to do is just I will okay, so here I'm first I need to get the whatever the information user has been sent. Okay, so that is like email and pass. To get whatever the user has been sending like email and password, so that will be basically present in the request object. So that is the reason. Okay, so in the request object we have a method something called as get parameter. Okay, so get parameter. So just I will invoke that method by passing the name of that attribute. Okay, so here you can see the name I have given for email is email. Just I will copy it and I will paste the thing here. And guys, make sure that always your name. Okay, so what are the like name attribute you are using and giving the value. Okay, so this name, the names for the field you are giving that must be passed in this get parameter. Okay, so else you will end up with some error. Okay, especially if the things are like integer values. Make sure not only integer, so numerical values. Okay, so then yeah, so I will collect that. Okay, so I will just declare a string email. Okay, and then I will collect whatever the string value will be returned from this get parameter method. Okay, so in other words, if I want to say whatever the email was sent by the user, I will be gathered here. Then so the password is also there. Okay, so I'm going to declare a variable as like pass pass. Okay, so on the request we got to know. Okay, so we have a method like get parameter which accepts a string argument. Okay, so I will just pass the pass. So this is the thing. Now, so once I have received this, like I need to provide implementation. Okay, so in my database, I need to check SQL workbench, open it. Okay, so what I need to do is, okay, so in the DAO layer, I need to declare one more method. Okay, validate user which accepts email and password. Then I need to provide implementation such a way that like I need to go for writing a query, select star from database and the table name. What was the database name I have given, guys? What was the table name? Okay, so user app, user. It is giving. One second. And so something like spelling mistake I have made. Okay. The database name what I have been created is user app. Sorry. So user app, and inside this we have user table. Cool. Now I need to write a query in such a way that okay, so email and password both must verify each other, right? Both must verify each other. Then I need to okay, so I need to go for like I need to sorry. Yeah, so then only I can go for displaying. Okay, so once the login has been successful, then I can go for again redirect to from this login servlet or validate servlet to a display servlet. Else I can give a message stating that like provide or enter a proper user details. Okay, so that's what we can do. Okay, let us see whether that how to work on that. Where I was. Okay, so instead of like providing this GAO complete implementation, Joe just I will just go for okay. So here I will just write if else. Okay, so if my email dot equals it will be a string, right? Okay, so I'm just going to write a equals so abc at the rate test test dot in. The email is this one email and pass. Okay, so password dot equals what are the password? So password I'm going to give like abc at the rate 123. Okay, so if this is true, okay, so if this login credentials, okay, whenever user is going to give a form, sorry, inside that login field email is abc at test.in and password is like abc at the rate 123, then only I need to redirect from this validate user servlet to display servlet. Okay, so for that what I can do is I'll just use this response object, right? So on the response object we have again send redirect method which accepts the URL. Okay, the display servlet, the URL I have configured as the display. I'll just copy it and I will just paste it here. Okay, else I need to provide a message. Okay, so stating that enter proper. Okay, so enter a proper user credentials. Okay, so I need to give a message, enter a proper user info. Okay, so for that, what I'm going to do is I'll just use a response dot get writer. Okay, so get writer is a method which helps us to return the print writer object. Okay, so I'll just write in output is the reference variable I am declaring of type print writer of type print writer. Okay, using output Okay, using output, I'm going to invoke a method like print ln, and I will pass. So inside this method, I'm going to pass a method a message stating it. Okay, so enter enter the proper. So enter the user info. Okay, so enter the proper. So proper user info. So that is the message I will try to display. Okay, so if it is wrong, so yeah, so now I need to create an endpoint. Okay, so this where validate user servlet. Okay, so I will use an annotation like web servlet, and I will just use an annotation by the name as like login. Okay, so this is the annotation I will be using here, login. So this login has to be provided to my login.html. Okay, so the action. Okay, so when user is going to fill the email and password, this has to the request has to be given to validate user servlet. Okay, and yeah, so once the login credentials are mapping, so guys, once the login credentials are mapping, it has to be redirected to display servlet. Okay, so here I will just display a message by creating that print writer object. Print writer output is equal to the response. We have a method get writer. Cool. Then okay. So using this, I'm going to display message dot print ln. Okay. So I'm going to just display message stating that I'm using h1. I will use an h1 tag. Okay, and I will just display message. Okay. So welcome to user app. Okay, so this is a just message I will be displaying for the user. Okay, so let us see whether it works perfectly as planned or not. Okay, so the thing how we are going to plan here is just I need to go for save a user information. Okay, so once the user information saved successfully to my RDMS application, that this okay, so save. Okay, then it will redirect to my login.html. Okay, so directly it is going to redirect to login.html. Once the this page we received, okay, so we need to provide email and password. Okay, so then once the email and passwords are matching, okay, so here just we have hard coded the values like email must be abc@test.in and password is like abc at 123. Just we have hard coded here. If the credentials are sorry, if the credentials are matching, then it will redirect to display servlet. Okay, so display is the endpoint. Okay, so it has to be redirected to here, display servlet. Okay, so let us see whether it is working or not. So what I'm going to do is just I think like my application is running. Yeah, so application is running. No, it is not running. Okay, so let us restart my application. I will right click on it and go for run on server. Cool. Okay. So I got a request here. So now I'm going to give a request for register HTML. So that is the point, right? So from there I am saving. Okay. So here I need to give ID. Okay. So I'm going to give the ID. What are the IDs I have given guys here? Okay, 117. So I'll give the ID as like 118. Okay. And the name, username, I will give just one. Okay, the mail ID I'm going to give it as like abc at the rate test dot in. The password I'm going to give it as like abc at the rate 123 is the password I have given. So then I will click register. Yeah, so user info saved from post method. Okay, sorry. Yeah. So here inside this servlet, okay. So I have provided the implementation, the get method, do get method. That was the reason it was not redirecting. Sorry guys. I'll just copy it and I will paste it here. Okay. So we will not receive this message. We'll see. Okay. So now I need to restart the server. Yeah. Something error occurred. What is that error? Okay. So this one is acceptable illegal access. Fine. Okay. Fine. 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 I just need to restart the server. So I'm restarting it. Okay, so my server is restarted. Okay, so then again I will give a request for this HTML. Okay, the ID I'm going to pass is like 119 and name. Okay, so instead of Akash, I'll give the name as like okay, sure. Shaik. Okay, the mail ID. So here I'm passing. Okay, so the mail ID same. Okay, so ABC at test.in and the password I'm going to give is like abc at the rate 123. The password I'll be giving. Click register. Yeah, you can see. So previously it was displaying a message like user has been saved successfully, but we didn't receive the message. Instead of that, it is redirecting to login.html. Did you notice that, guys? Right. Okay. Now let us give the email as like abc at the rate test dot in and then password. Password is like abc at the rate 123 and click login. Yeah, you can see I'm getting a option like welcome to user app. Okay, so I'm getting a message like welcome to user app, right? So now let us give a request. So let us go for login.html page again. Okay, and then okay, so here I'm going to give the email ID as like abc test instead of dot in. I'm going to give it as like dot com, and then password I will be giving like 1234, and then click login. Come on, why what happened wrong? Okay, so my system I think like it has been hanged. Yeah, you can see I got a message like enter the proper user info, right? So I got a message stating that enter the proper info. That means like okay, so from login page it is going to validate user. So there the credentials are mismatching. That is the reason I'm getting this error. If it is like matching, okay. So previous example you can see if the credentials are matching dot in, okay, and password is like abc at the rate 123, okay. So from validate user, it is redirecting to the display servlet. I hope you guys have got an like example. Okay, so how the redirecting works internally and externally. You might have seen. Okay, so here, so whenever I give a request to go for redirect, you might have seen. Okay, so the browser will be so in the browser the URLs will be keep changing, right? So in redirect, the redirect thing happens at the browser. Okay, so browser displays the whatever the response given by the new URL. Okay, that will be there. Basically this redirect happens at browser side, and in case of redirect, URL in the browser changes. Did you notice that, guys? Okay, so whenever, like for example, this one also like the in not an internal external also, you might have noticed that. So I was giving a request for this example servlet, right? So I was just giving a request for this example for a redirect servlet. So this is the redirect is the request I used to give, right? So when I will provide the redirect, okay. So when I am going to provide the redirect, you can have seen. Okay, so the URL has been changed to github.com. The browser URL will be changing to github.com. Okay, so similarly internal also. Okay, so internal also like Okay, so save again. I need to go for writing this. Okay, so one second, I will show you. Yeah, dashboard. Okay, so register. Okay, so here you can see register.html is there. I will give a request. Okay, so I'm going to give the ID as like 120, name ABC, and email ID. Okay, so test at the rate ABC dot in password 1234 at the rate ABC, just the name. Okay, and click on register. So you can see I gave a request for register.html. Then in so inside that register.html, so there is a request for student, sorry, save user servlet, right? So after that, it is saving successfully. Then only it is redirecting to login.html, right? So you can see the browser change. Okay, so the URL has been changing successfully. Then okay, so yeah, I will just give the email ID as like abc at test.in, and then the password is like okay, so abc at the rate 123 is the password. I will click save. You can notice that I give a request from login form, right? So in the login form, the request was given to the, so yeah, where is login? Yeah, login.html. The request was given to the login. Okay, so login servlet. That is like validate user servlet. This is the servlet I was given a request. So from this servlet, it has been redirecting to display servlet. Okay, so display servlet will be redirected, and that is the reason we are getting the in the URL we are getting a like URL as like display. So guys, do you have any doubts in this redirect? So in redirect, what happens? So whenever you see user giving a request to particular servlet, it will be redirect to another servlet. Okay, or it may be internal resource, or it may be external resource. So here the URL will be changes. Okay, as the URL is going to change, like request and response object will be created as per the user request or the browser request, and this redirect will occur at the browser side. Okay, so these are the point we need to notice here. So redirect will takes place. Okay, so redirect is nothing but servlet servlet redirects going to redirect. Okay, so it is going to redirect that request to another resource. Okay, so it is going to another resource, or it may be internal or external resource. Maybe a internal resource, or it may be a external resource. Okay, then where I was, yeah. So browser will makes a new request to this URL. Okay, so browser. So here browser is the responsible. BROWSE. Browser makes a new request to the to this URL. Okay, so here whatever the URL I have received, okay, so whatever the URL I will be receiving, okay, that will be in the form of a response. Uh, yeah, yeah. Vintage. First, let us complete this redirect. Then again, we will be go for request dispatcher also. Okay. Yeah, guys. Okay. Okay, so if I'm using that at the rate annotation like web servlet, then no need to go for configure inside that web.xml file. Yeah, yeah. So that was okay. So URL, and in case of redirect a request HTTP method. Yeah, so in guys, either one more point I forgot to inform you. Yeah, so in case of this redirect, the HTTP method will be like in the request will be always get. Okay, so in the request, like always, the HTTP method will be get, guys. Okay, and redirect happens at browser side, and in case of redirect, URL in the browsers changes. Cool. So okay, so guys, you can take an example for this. Okay, so white. So example one is this. Okay, so example two, what I'm going to do is I'll just instead of this, I will just change. Okay, and let it be Insta only. I will go for declaring a servlet with the name as Insta servlet. Okay, and I will clear complete this. I will just make this as a servlet. Okay, so my resource I'm going to create a resource servlet, and here also I will just provide an implementation for do get method. So here just I will use a response. Okay, so I'm going to give a response. To give a response, we need to have that print writer object, print writer output equal to the response. Okay, so on the response, we have a method like get writer which helps us to provide the print writer output. So here just I will use the output dot print. Okay, so let us go with print ln only, print ln, and then I'll just pass a message. Okay, so request request or insta page insta's request for insta response from the insta servlet. Okay, so here I'm going to key or so here we'll use an operation like web servlet so that no need to configure go and configure every time in the web.xml file. So here just annotation and I will give the endpoint as okay. So insta one and I will save this. Cool. I'll save this one and then I'm going to restart my server. Okay, so I've been restarted. Now let us give a request for Insta. Let's see what is the output we are going to receive. Okay, so Insta. Sorry, I didn't redirected that one, right? Yeah, I didn't went for redirecting. That is the reason I didn't receive any message. Okay, so whenever I'm going to get a request, I'll use this response and I will use invoke a method like send redirect, and I want to redirect request to insta one is the endpoint. Saved. I will restart my server. Okay. Sorry, now I will give a request. Yeah, you can see request for insta response from the insta servlet. Okay, so this was the request I have given. Okay, so for this particular page, but I'm getting a response from this insta servlet. Okay, just I will go for using h1 tab so that the alphabets will be displayed in a font size will be increased. Save. Okay, So then I will restart. Okay, so restarting is done. I just give a request for Insta. You can see I got a response from request from Insta. Response, so request for Insta, but response I received from Insta servlet. In the URL also we can see the request was Insta, but it has been changed to Insta one, right? So guys, try to execute once and see. Okay, so try to provide like go for redirecting and see whether you guys are working or not. Whether like the logic is working or not. Let us verify once.